episode is brought by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you!
Hello everyone and welcome back to a new episode of Red Raptor Writes. I've been looking forward to making this one for a while. Over the past year, I've been going back and revisiting a childhood favorite series of mine, The Land Before Time. After impulse buying an entire collection at Walmart, I've been on a binge. Perhaps like a lot of you watching, I had a big stack of VHS tapes always waiting for me at home. Whenever I had a day off or sick day, these were my go-tos.
Just haven't given up on me. Never.
Now, all these years later, let's see how each of them hold up. Some of you in the comments came up with a good idea to rank them. So after I review each entry, I'll place it somewhere on the list, organized from best to worst. Fair warning before we begin, I only owned the first 8 and 11 as a kid, so nostalgia may seep into these reviews, though I've been pleasantly surprised with most of my rewatches, with some new opinions to share. And also, I've only binged the first 7 lately, so those are the ones I'll be making references to for now, as I cover the first 4 movies. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's dig this up. The first, the original, the one that started it all, The Land Before Time, released in 1988. Our introduction to the franchise was directed by Don Bluth, who also worked on All Dogs Go to Heaven, An American Tail, and Anastasia. We even got some big names like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas in their primes as executive producers, along with Kathleen Kennedy.
A Sith Lord?
In a previous video of mine contemplating the legacy of Jurassic Park, I did mention being a Land Before Time fan for the sequels. To the surprise of my viewers, I never liked the first movie. As a kid, I found it boring, hard to watch, and even harder to finish. Actually, I don't remember if I ever got around to finishing it before now. After returning to this classic, completing it for the first time in my 24-year lifetime, I can finally say, I was wrong. Yeah, I was so wrong. What was my problem as a kid? Why couldn't I appreciate this? Was my attention span too low? Did I have bad taste? Was I traumatized while watching it one time, forming an association between the pain and the movie? Who the heck knows? I used to think it was too long, dragged out, and uninteresting, but that clearly isn't the case. The Land Before Time is short, sweet, and to the point. The dinosaur herds are searching for the mythical Great Valley. Our main character, Littlefoot, is traveling with his family when his mother dies after battling a shark tooth. Or was it the earthshake that got her? It seemed unclear. Afterwards, Littlefoot meets up with Sarah, Ducky, Petrie, and Spike. Then, once the crew is united, they fight the sharp-toothed T-Rex and make it to the Great Valley. The whole movie is only 69 minutes, so it wastes no time. That's not to say it rushes either. Yeah, maybe I would have liked to see more time spent with Littlefoot's mother, so her death is even more impactful, but aside from that nitpick, we still get more than enough time to know each of the characters. It's pretty brilliant how quickly they were characterized. Instantly, we know what each of them are about. Littlefoot is very determined, constantly working to reach his goal, which makes him the natural leader of the group. Sarah is stubborn and proud, refusing to seek help or admit defeat. She also holds on to the prejudices of the previous generation, believing that different types of dinosaurs should stick to their own, not intermingling. Littlefoot rejects this idea, but more on that later. Petrie usually fills the comic relief role, though here he is learning the highly coveted ability of flight. I mean, flight is such an overpowered ability, leading to a sense of pride we'll come back to in the sequels. Spike, well, he eats. A lot. He's born in a patch of tall grass and devours it all immediately upon birth. Super efficient writing. I've never been sure what his deal is though. Spike is non-verbal aside from a handful of words in the entire series, and his quest for food often endangers his friends. Is this because he's a stegosaurus and his species is supposed to be dumb? Is Spike supposed to represent someone with special needs? Because I don't know if this is in good taste. Ducky is the most friendly and nurturing. She's pretty much the glue that holds the group together. While I'm on the subject, her actress deserves a few words. Also starring in All Dogs Go to Heaven, Judith Barcy was a talented young actress who had a totally tragic passing in a murder-suicide soon after this film's release. I'm not here to tell all the gruesome details, but she deserves to be remembered and respected. Such a terrible loss. Now, you can see that this is a fast and efficient movie. One big tell to a film's quality is its efficiency. How much can be accomplished well in a single scene? Considering this is a very short movie with a nice story full of character arcs, yeah, The Land Before Time is extremely efficient. Going back to the theme of prejudice, at this point in the lore,
What the lore? The lore, guys, the lore! The lore!
each species has been living largely isolated from each other. What draws them together is finding the Great Valley, a safe haven from the desert death trap. This causes distrust among the dinosaurs, even if they're all herbivores. Sarah's prejudice is amplified by her stubbornness, as she refuses to seek help from or follow others. Littlefoot, on the other hand, questions the status quo and is willing to work alongside some new friends to find the Great Valley. Again, he's very goal-oriented, so he'll do what he must to attain that goal. Past prejudices don't matter to him. What we get is a simple yet well-done message about coming together, how even though we're different, we can get along. Plus, those differences can be advantageous since each of their strengths can be exploited. Littlefoot's a strong leader, Sarah can knock stuff over, Ducky swims, Petrie, though he's still learning to fly, can at least attain some height, and Spike, well, he's cool I guess, also strong like Sarah. Again, simple, to the point, and well done. I'm not blowing anyone's mind here. Before I move on though, I have to point out some of the stellar visuals. The art direction is just phenomenal, giving us beautiful yet eerie landscapes. With volcanoes, storms, deserts, some swamps, you can see tons of inspiration from vintage paleo art of the late 1800s and early 1900s, though updated for the times, well, the 80s. None of this holds up scientifically today, but that doesn't matter here. The Land Before Time captured the magic that made dinosaurs so beloved in the first place. All of it is only elevated by a beautiful score from James Horner. No, James Horner. There we go. While these strengths were carried over to the sequels, none of them feel quite as striking. I mean, the kids are trekking through a desert wasteland for most of the runtime. And all this makes their victory at the end feel even more fulfilling. It's so satisfying when they finally look over the ridge to see that lush Great Valley. So, the first Land Before Time was never my favorite, but it easily won me over on a rewatch. A very good movie with an enjoyable cast, beautiful art direction, and snappy yet efficient pacing. Although The Land Before Time was a critical and commercial success, it took Universal 6 years to make a sequel. Instead of seeing a theatrical release, the rest would be straight to home video. From this point on, one would be released almost every year. That brings us to The Land Before Time 2, The Great Valley Adventure from 1994, and like 3 and 4, was directed by Roy Allen Smith. On paper, there would be 13 sequels to The Land Before Time, but I would argue that these aren't sequels to the first movie, but the second. Okay, yeah, of course they're technically sequels to the original, but the rest are much more in line with the second. The Great Valley Adventure takes the series in a new direction. The most obvious shift is the tone. This one feels much more lighthearted. The dangerous and eerie has been swapped with campy and fun. Audiences still get a good musical score, but full-on songs are added, something that would become a series staple. All the total bangers to come from these films start here. While I'm on the subject, Peaceful Valley's You're One of Us Now is classic, and Eggs is on a whole other level, easily in the top 5 for me. Also, this one is much goofier. There are many more comedic moments. While we still had some levity before, that was more of a family film. People of all ages can come enjoy the original. The Great Valley Adventure, it can be childish at points, clearly being more of a kid's film instead. Some may find these moments endearing, others may be annoyed. I'm pretty indifferent to it. But I did burst out laughing when the Struthio Mimas villains literally attempted suicide out of fear. I did notice some moments where the humor felt out of place, causing a total mess, like when the egg snatchers are making off with Ducky's sibling, only for the kids to have some laughs along the way during their pursuit. Like, Ducky, your brother or sister is about to be aborted. Can you keep it down for 5 minutes? Other changes come with the cast. Now that we know the core leads, a supporting cast is established. Littlefoot's grandparents barely got any screen time and maybe had one line in the entire first film. Sarah's dad, too, becomes a more vocal member of the Great Valley, though he gets more to do in number 3. Being a Triceratops, he's naturally very ornery and protective, though his caution sometimes leads to bigotry against other dinosaurs. He's that one relative making anti-sauropod remarks at the Thanksgiving table.
I suppose you all got the same lecture I did. Don't hang around with long necks, big faces, and spike tails. That's racist!
And I can't forget about Chomper, who's just a hatchling here, but ages for his returns in 5 and 14. I think the new characters add a lot. Since I grew up watching 8 of them at a time, it's hard to imagine not having them around. Those are the big changes going in. So where did the filmmakers decide to go with the sequel? Well, the Great Valley Adventure highlights how great life is for everyone after escaping the hellish nightmare. When they nearly drown in mud, the prehistoric pals are upset at being treated like children, even though they are children who keep acting irresponsibly. While complaining about this, they notice 2 Struthiomimus stealing an egg from Ducky's mom, so in order to prove themselves to the adults, they decide to go after the egg snatchers. After a chase with some jokes along the way, the egg rolls back to safety without the characters knowing, and they accidentally bring back a Tyrannosaurus egg. Then the egg hatches into a new friend they name Chomper, but it's quickly realized that raising a child is a big responsibility, and there's some tension with raising a Sharptooth. Next, some more confrontations occur with Ozzy and Strut. Chomper's parents come to retrieve their infant, causing lots of commotion. Finally, everything is resolved when Chomper leaves with his parents to eat the Struthiomimus, though this is never explicitly shown. And the gap in the Great Wall protecting the valley is secured, something that has yet to happen in the United States. The end. I have no strong opinions on the overall story itself. It's enjoyable, I had fun with it, there's a decent lesson here about growing up too fast. Even though childhood comes with limitations, adults have lots of responsibilities to worry about. Our protagonists get a taste of how hard parenting is and receive a greater appreciation for their guardians who constantly put up with their crap. It's a valuable lesson for kids to learn, and I think it's delivered very organically. Ozzy and Strut, the egg-loving Struthiomimus, are pretty great. I'd put them not too far below 5's Giganotosaurus and Uncle Tyranno from 7, who is absolutely amazing, but we'll get to him eventually. Jeff Bennett, the voice of Petrie, gives an entirely unique performance as Ozzy, the more villainous leader of the two. I would never have guessed that these voices were the same, showing a phenomenal range on Bennett's part. Strut is played by the legendary Rob Paulsen, who has been one of the best voice actors in the business for years. In addition to making noises for Spike, he's the legend who gave us Carl Weezer, Raphael in the original Ninja Turtle series, Donatello in the 2012 show, Peck in Back at the Barnyard, and so many other things. It would take an entire video just to detail his work. Strut sounds most similar to his performance as Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, a 90s cartoon that everyone needs to watch.
Here's the company policy on vacations, on personal phone calls, and sexual harassment.
The motivation for these villains is simple enough, just to eat eggs. With a straight, toothless beak, Struthiomimus may have been omnivorous. With that varied diet, Ozzy doesn't want to be confined to eating plants like some lowly herbivore. His calling in life is to eat eggs. You know what? Relatable. Eating vegetables sucks. People will literally hand you a bowl of leaves, then try to convince you it's the best thing you'll ever taste. Get those salads out of my face and give me some real food, please.
You leaf-loving, bush-burping, stem-smelling, tree-tasting, dirt-devouring beast!
You know what? If I were forced to eat salads my whole life, I would go on a murderous villain arc too. To close out one of the many sequels, I'd say it's pretty good. As far as unnecessary cash grab, straight to home video sequels go, this is a total success. Your opinion may differ if you miss the style of the first film. Maybe you were a child in the 80s, so your impression of what one of these should be came from the 88 original. But I grew up in the 2000s, so the goofiness, the lighter tone, and the songs for me were
always there.
This is the Land Before Time I knew, so I may be more generous than others, but overall pretty good. Next in the series comes The Land Before Time 3, The Time of Great Giving, released in 1995. Completing trilogies proves to be a difficult task for many filmmakers in Hollywood, but thankfully this installment sticks the landing. The general synopsis for 3 is that when a meteor shower lands near the Great Valley, the resulting rubble blocks off the river that provides everyone with water. The resulting water shortage raises tensions among the dinosaurs. At the same time, the prehistoric pals have to deal with a group of bullies who keep picking on them. Since the Great Valley has dried, a strike of lightning ignites a forest fire that ravages the land. Once everyone is evacuated safely, they decide to share what food is left rather than fight over resources like before, leading to the film's title. It isn't the most climactic of stories, serving more as a slow burn, no pun intended. It's possible that this wouldn't be as entertaining for a child audience, though as an adult I appreciated it. But yeah, there are some childish moments that I can no longer relate to, like talking about those mean old bullies, but the filmmakers were able to pull a good lesson from this. We see how the lead bully Hip is shown anger from his father, so in turn, he shows anger to others. Parents lead by example, and so if the behaviors being shown are bad, children will often replicate those behaviors. This is all paralleled with Mr. Threehorn, who's been more angry than usual because of the water crisis. After seeing Hip's situation, he reflects on his own behavior towards Sarah. I know there are some Land Before Time purists out there who only like the original, but dang, I love where the sequels take some of the side characters that were only relegated to the background before. I feel like The Time of Great Giving rounds out the moral from the previous entry. Before, the kids learn to mind their parents because they're looking out for them. Here we get the flip side. Yes, children should be obedient, but parents also need to behave and treat their kids well. This is a great lesson that both kids and adults can appreciate. Overall, this is one of the installments I have the least to comment on. The story was pretty good. I enjoyed the lessons on parenting and giving, even if they were on the nose at points.
Not sharing is for scaredy eggs, right?
Right.
We get some fun action with velociraptors rather than the usual T-Rex, and the songs were all decent. All the talent clearly went into When You're Big, which absolutely rocks, instead of Standing Tough and Kids Like Us. I found those two, So yeah, this is another pretty good, solid addition on par with the second. I'm going back and forth on whether to put this above or below the Great Valley Adventure, but I'll put it just a notch below for now. I found the second one to be just a bit more memorable and maybe more enjoyable for audiences of all ages. Still a pretty good, solid third movie, which is more than can be said about a lot of third movies. Journey Through the Mists is the fourth installment in the series, being released in 1996. This entry is very special in the series. It's special in that it's the first real dud. So far during my rewatches, 4 is easily my least favorite. Here's the thing, it promises so much, yet delivers so little. The basic setup here is that a herd of migrating longnecks make their way to the Great Valley, along with this new girl, Allie. She's alright, I guess. Living with longnecks all her life, she's frightened by the diverse friend group, but warms up to them over time. So we're kind of repeating that theme from the first movie. While this is happening, Grandpa Longneck contracts a deadly disease, which is recognized by the passing sauropods. Their leader notes that the only cure for this disease is a rare flower only found in their old home, a swamp now called the Land of Mists. Littlefoot, as usual, rushes into action to find the golden night flower, being led by Allie. I absolutely love this setup. It may be the best first act to be found in the whole franchise. A beloved character is passing away, more tragically than Littlefoot's mother in my opinion, since we've spent much more time with the grandpa by this point. To make my emotions bubble up even further, Grandma Longneck gets a song called Grandma's Lullaby, about how death is a natural part of life. Everyone dies eventually, but the circle of life continues. Life delivers both the good and the bad. You can't stop it. This really is a beautiful yet somber song. In a sad stroke of irony, the voice actress who played her, Linda Gary, passed away after recording her lines. Another tragic loss for the series. Now Littlefoot hopes, beyond hope, to stop the inevitable. We're set up for a pretty dark yet important lesson about death. After the first act, I couldn't wait to see what came after, and then the plot comes to a screeching halt in the prolonged, monotonous second act. Most of the remaining runtime is spent on all these shenanigans in some boring cave when the gang is hunted by Dill the Dinosaurus and Itchy the Ichthyornis. As much as I appreciate the variety of prehistoric creatures that appear in these films, they're the weakest antagonists so far. Much of the dialogue is just them bickering with one another. The writers even lifted a song straight from Calamity Jane, minus the charm, the wit, and Doris Day.
In the summer, you're the winter. In the finger, you're the splinter.
I need you like a hole in the head.
And I need you like a bug in the bed.
So much time was spent in this cave with these boring villains that all emotional weight vanished. Once the kids finally make it to the Land of Mists, it feels like the writers didn't know what to do with it. All we see are more chase scenes with Itchy and Dill. None of it is all that entertaining. My mind checked out of this movie half an hour early. So Littlefoot nabs the flower, returns home, and saves his grandpa in time. Listen, I get it. We're watching a G-rated kids movie. Such a significant character probably isn't gonna die, if death is even still allowed in this series. Universal was not about to deal with angry letters from parents complaining about their depressed children. Okay, fair enough. But don't make promises you can't keep. The writers knew they couldn't kill off Grandpa Longneck, so why build it up? Why was an entire song written on accepting death? Why were promises made when the filmmakers knew they couldn't deliver? So, I guess death isn't inevitable? I guess we can cheat death now? This is the definition of writing yourself into a corner. You can't walk back any of this stuff, but you also can't make Littlefoot's journey feel pointless. Like, say if his grandpa already passed when he returns. Then people would wonder what the heck the point of watching this was. Perhaps it could have worked if it was established that he delivered the flower too late to save Grandpa, but it allowed them to have one more day together. That way, we still get the adventure, and there's still a benefit from it, while not taking away from the themes of death. I don't know, something like that, or just make the fourth entry about something else entirely, if they didn't have the guts to deliver. And again, much of the movie takes place in the stupid cave, so what's the point of Journey Through the Mists? Nothing. There is no point. Skip it and go straight to 5 instead. Congratulations on being the first straight up bad movie in the series. Well everyone, thank you for watching part 1 of my series retrospective. It's been lots of fun making it. With the exception of number 4, I'm glad to see how well they've held up. Plus, I'm a fan of the original now. That's new. Be sure to stick around as I cover the later installments. Next video, I'll be covering movies 5 through 9. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like, subscribe, and to check out my social media. See you then.